If somebody is able to get into your partner's life like that, it probably means that something is lacking in your relationship that they're really looking for. I think in general, I think that's the case. So like in my relationships, usually the thing that the other person lacks or wants more of is usually some type of like direct attention, which is really hard for me because I work so much. And do you only work so much because you enjoy it? Yes, I super love everything I do for work. That's why I can work so much. And historically have been able to work so much because I super love it and enjoy it. Yeah. Would you be open to take a step back and try out everything you don't have strong beliefs in? You seem to be a bit set in your ways despite you saying otherwise, at least in the polyamory area. Maybe controlling your urges and not doing everything you want is a good thing. You say this, but all of my relationships prior to this were closed relationships. So have you ever considered trying a poly relationship? Like that's so weird because you would only make this comment about my life and my lifestyle. The people that make these kinds of comments often come from the most closed-minded communities. Why would I listen to you when you're encouraging me to be open-minded, right? You're not even encouraging me to be open-minded. You just want me to agree with you. Re-listen to what Trent said. I think you misunderstood his point.
Stimulate them.
It's fine to use medical treatment to see if your body is working properly. It's fine to do things to acquire semen, for example. You might use, for example, with some patients, use electroejaculation.
Hold on. If Eris is going to shit on me in chat, I'm shitting on her. Eris said, big secret reveal. If you don't want him to eat your chocolate, get chocolate with mint on it. Huge attack on Eris's character. One thing that I bring up anonymously sometimes, and I don't name names, is Eris is one of the women who has said, I really like dark chocolate, and I got you the darkest chocolate, and that shit sat on your desk for months. I did notice that. Even when you put it in the dresser drawer, I noticed that you didn't eat that. So yeah, I am thinking about you as one of many people that say they like dark chocolate and they don't actually. So get exposed, motherfucker. Okay.
Medical treatment to see if your body is...
Why do another open relationship when you know it doesn't work? Well, if we're going by statistics, I've been in 4 or 5 failed closed relationships, and I was in one open relationship that lasted for 5 years. So I don't know.
It's working properly. It's fine to do things to acquire semen, for example. You might use, for example, with some patients, use electroejaculation stimulation of the prostate.
I have never heard of this in my entire life, and I don't believe that this is a real thing. When you go to sperm dono clinics and shit, don't you like jerk off in a cup or something? I don't know. I know someone in chat has gone here before. Don't they just like give you a cup and put you in a room and you masturbate? Do you actually, is it normal that you go to an office and they stick electrodes in your ass to like get you to orgasm? Is that true? This just seems like such a hyper specific fucking thing. Like,
body is working properly. It's fine to do things to acquire semen, for example. You might use, for example, with some patients, use electroejaculation stimulation of the prostate in order to get... Well, for some patients, that's what you have to do, including if they're paralyzed.
Okay, I understand what you just said was a way more hardcore kink than water sports, but okay, go ahead.
No, to see if you can ejaculate, to see if you're able...
because I'd given the example of like, what if a medical professional is trying to test your ability to ejaculate or for something for ED, and I know that they don't do this because obviously the crossing the relationship is inappropriate, but like, what if they jerked you off for this? Would that be okay? And he's like, no, a better way would be to stick electric rods in your ass and shock your prostate until you... ejaculate. Sorry, fuck. Oh, I accidentally scrolled down on this. People were speculating that Mel made you gay and you're actually a fake gay. Thoughts on this? I don't know how to counter that too. I was on that podcast, the unfiltered one, and they were polite. But like, yeah, they're like, do you think bisexual people are real? And it's like, what am I fucking... So am I faking it when I'm sucking dick, or am I faking it when I'm fucking girls? Like, what part of me, like... And it's also weird if you're not going to like take, because obviously anything I say, they'll just say like, is cope. So it's like, okay, well, tell me how I feel, I guess. I don't know. It just seems stupid. Like, I don't even know how I'm supposed to respond to this. Like if you're automatically going to discount like, if you're going to automatically discount anything I say, yeah. Do you think attractiveness, though, makes it easier to open the door to a relationship, like the initial attractiveness? It can be, but like something I'll say of girls, I think this is true of men too, although I don't know if I'm getting mind fucked in red pill spaces, is girls can find a lot of guys in a very wide variety of body styles as being cute. Like, oh, like that dude is like so cute. I like this thing, or this guy's cute. It doesn't have to be a Giga Chad that initially, physically even, turns a girl onto a guy. I think that's pretty true of guys as well. I hope that they're not all like obsessed with BBLs and lip fillers now. I don't know if I'm getting too mind fucked in red spill in Miami space with that, but yeah. What was up with Trent and hentai? Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. 50% of your offline DG chat thinks the ADHD sentiment is over. Oh, hold on. What is this? What is more likely? ADHD, sentiment in DGG is being largely overdiagnosed. Neutral, the sentiment is largely underdiagnosed. Yeah, I'd probably agree with this. I think I would agree with this. There's probably too many people. There's probably too many people that. I think the way that Dr. Russell Barkley puts it is that like it's probably overdiagnosed, and that there's a lot of people that go with like just some inattentiveness that get a prescription for medication that don't need it. But there's probably a lot of people that actually have ADHD that don't go and get it. So it's like simultaneously overdiagnosed and underdiagnosed at the same time. I don't know if there's data to support his opinion on that or what, but yeah.
When planning the debate, would you have ever thought that Destiny would say bestiality is somehow better than killing an animal? That was somehow inadvertently stated or purposefully in the debate that bestiality is...
I don't even know how we got there. I think I started like staring off into space at some point because I'm like, why the f are we having an incest bestiality debate on the ethics of sex work?
Better than killing an animal. It's better to...
Yeah, well,
have sexual acts with an animal than it is to kill them.
I'll discuss this in an episode. I already recorded this episode.
Looking
a while
forward
ago.
to that coming out.
Yeah, so I'd already broached the topic because I wanted to talk about that.
I also really hate that. Jesus. I'm not kidding.
Peter Singer referenced the bestiality article.
I wish you could just reference, or not reference. I wish you could just like argue with the point. Okay, you think that an animal is worse than killing it. Explain why. All they can do is the moral dumbfounding argument, where they just like appeal to like, well, isn't that horrible? It's like, okay, well, justify it. I'm just curious. Would you rather have somebody f you? Would you rather have somebody, you know, lactate your fucking nipples in some factory for 4 years, you know, while fattening you up with growth hormone? Like, what would you rather prove? I don't pick it. Well, what do you think? But like I think Trent might have engaged with it. I think the Leela person is, I don't want to say that she's bad faith, but she definitely has like lines of argumentation that she sticks with incredibly rigidly and seems to have a hard time exploring things outside of those lines.
I anticipated and thinking in my head, well, how would they go about rebutting this? And I felt like, and I thought in my head before it would happen as we were sitting there, and I said, Jasmine, you'll probably, it was interesting in the engagement. I said, here's my argument, why is this wrong? Jasmine, I bet you would say this is why it's wrong. And she said, yes, I would say that. I'm like, okay, but here's why that argument doesn't work. And then Destiny said, you're right, that isn't why the argument, why the argument doesn't work. And I anticipated that what Destiny often does is he'll just bite the bullet on claims. We did that before when we debated before.
I felt this a lot. I'm not going to fault them for debate strategy, and I don't want to attack Jasmine. Farha had this problem, although she had it way more. I have no problem biting a bullet because I know the argument's past the bullet biting. I'm not scared of like, if you want to say, well, wouldn't you be logically committed to this? But yeah, I am. So like, let's go to the next part and we can argue that. I can show you why. But it did feel like there were times when Jasmine was a little bit scared of biting a bullet, and she's like arguing stuff. I was like, Jasmine, you kind of have to accept this. But like, I don't want to undermine my debate partner while we're doing it. So it's like really hard. But yeah. But like, yeah, I noticed that Leela and Trent were super fixated on arguing with Jasmine the entire time. So
if it leads to a morally repugnant conclusion, fine, whatever. Maybe it's not that morally repugnant. We have to get over our feelings about that situation. But I think many times there's a philosopher, Martha Nussbaum. No, sorry, Nussbaum's a reply to this, but I think she's wrong. Leon Cass wrote an article called "The Wisdom of Repugnance," and then many times in bioethics,
great article.
Yeah, bioethics, that sense of repugnance can be a morally worthwhile intuition to discover whether something is in accord with human nature. So I did anticipate that they would probably just have to bite the bullet because their view of sexuality left them really no other options.
If consent is all that matters, then when you test that sort of standard of consent, when it comes to animals, there's a lot of gray area, so it opens the door to bestiality.
Yeah.
A couple more comments. The Young Catholics, love you both. Trent, your wife is my fave. Isn't she great?
I'm at your door, open up. Oh, Abba, I swear to God, we're going to go out to eat and we're going to do everything. I haven't responded to any DMs in a long time. Fuck, hold on. I have to respond to yours. I'm so sorry. Hold on. Wait. Oh, yeah, it was Tuesday. Jasmine saying porn addiction isn't real was bizarre. Well, it's not like a DSM-5 recognized thing, but like, I think that's a pedantic point. We don't have to like, yeah, we could have just like engaged with the idea of porn addiction because there probably are some people that are addicted to porn, right?
Laura, Too Far Thorhorn, shout out. Give her my love. The debate was amazing, and although I am biased,
Open relationships may appear to be a selling point at first, but they seem doomed to fail as underlying frustration would inevitably fester and end badly. I don't want to. I really just. It's so boring to me arguing the monogamy versus polyamory point because like everybody is. It's basically it's like it's the emotional equivalent of arguing about circumcision, where when people argue about circumcision, they're really just talking about their dick. That's like all it is. And it's like, I'm not going to sit here and fight with like 10 circumcised guys over circumcised as an uncircumcised guy about whether circumcision is good or bad. This is like the biggest waste of time argument in the world. So yeah, I mean like I'll just say that basically anything you can say about poly or open relationships, there is a flip side that you can say about monogamous relationships, but most people like just cover their ears and they don't want to hear it. But I mean, like, I think if you were talking to a mature person, they could make that assessment. But the problem is a lot of you guys have really strong opinions on poly or open relationships, but you don't even have monogamous relationship experience. So it's like, I don't even know why I would argue against this, right? Like frustration and stuff can fester in anything. Like, for instance, a really good point. I think I actually had this question on stream 4 or 5 days ago. I think this is on stream. Somebody asked me, or somebody had a post on the subreddit where they're like, hey, I've been dating a person for like a long time and I haven't dated anybody else ever. It was like my first or second partner and I'm worried I'm missing out, right? That's a really common complaint from monogamous people. They get together when they're like in high school. They've been dating one partner for 4 or 5 years, especially after going through college. They're like, fuck, did I miss a bunch of like cool experiences, or am I like cheating myself out of something, or should I have dated somebody else? And like, I don't know. That's a really common point. Now that issue doesn't exist really in open or poly relationships, but in a mono relationship, that could be a deal breaker. That could be an ender, right? Now, this isn't to say that like one is good or one is bad or one is preferable or one is not. Statistically speaking, I'm pretty sure, I think monogamous relationships have a higher success rate, although I'm not even sure how you would measure that. Yeah, I don't even know if that is actually measurable now that I think about it, because like here would be a question I would have, okay? Let's say that you have one guy and one girl and they're dating. And then let's say you have another guy and another girl and they're dating. Let's say that like this person is also dating somebody here and this person is also dating somebody here. What if it was the case that like these two people got together and they like, and so they ended these relationships and now they're dating each other. Like, was there a relationship failure here? Did something like not work out? So like statistically speaking, I don't even know how you would measure like failures in like open or poly relationships. I have no idea. Yeah, I don't even know how you would measure it. Like, let's say you have a person here and they're dating this person, and then let's say this person dates this person and then they don't like him anymore and they break up, and they date this person, they don't like him anymore, they break up. But like these two stay together the whole time. Does that mean this relationship worked? I have no idea. I'm not asking like a rhetorical question like obviously the data can't be measured. I'm just saying it would be interesting in how you would even quantify like what is a successful or failed thing. You know, I have no idea. It seems pretty intuitive. No, open relationships require much more mature people for it to work because it opens the relationship to much more problems. Bob 7. You bring that up, but like Bob 7 wasn't a romantic relationship problem, I don't think. That was a problem of friendship. And that same problem can exist in a ton of monogamous relationships. In fact, I would argue that venting to non-partners is probably one of the bigger threats to all relationships, polyamorous or monogamous. I think it's a really big threat when your partner starts venting to friends or other people. Yeah, but that's a huge problem for monogamous relationships as well. That's not even unique to poly stuff. There is going to be some stuff unique to poly stuff for sure. I'm not going to say there's nothing, but yeah. Let's see. I'm 43 and in a swinger relationship. Just went to an orgy this weekend. Been in the lifestyle for several years. I'm willing to talk about it. Cool. Wait, here's Trent addressing his comment about your breakup.
I think I might mention one more thing. I think some people were critical of me because at one point I was critical of Destiny's polyamorous relationship. And they said like, and it's come out now that he and his wife, who've been involved in polyamory, are getting divorced, saying like that was a low blow, something to go after. And it was not something I planned to bring up. I planned not to talk about that. But I felt it was justified because I felt that Destiny made a uncharitable jab. We were talking about the issue of consent, and he just straight up said, well, you don't understand consent because you're religious. And he had frequently been using essentially ad hominem attacks. You're wrong because you're religious. You're bad because you're religious. And then by saying, you don't understand consent because you're religious is a way of saying because you're religious, you're like indifferent to rape. Because if you don't understand consent, what does that mean?
Damn, that's a big jump. That's a really big jump, but okay.
mean, that means that you're going to have some kind of problematic view towards rape. And that's when I said, no, the person who doesn't understand the nature of consent is you. And I felt then at that point, it's fair to bring up, if you're going to attack something.
Yeah, but like, how is anything in my relationship related to consent? Like, if we'd broken up because like one of us had been accused of rape, that would be fair. But like, how, it's like not even.
It's important to me, my religion, and say it leads to something bad. I'm going to publicly point out that something you believe in, that it's perfectly fine for your spouse to have sex with other people, that this leads to very bad things, and that you've promoted this destructive behavior that some people might imitate it to their own detriment. And I think it's good to point out, it's for whom the bell tolls.
For whom the bell.
I don't know. I did replay this interaction a lot in my head, because the most charitable interpretation I can run with is that religion is one of those things. I thought about this a lot with Sneeko, because me and Sneeko have actually had back and forth on this too, and I had a similar interaction with Sneeko where I would attack Sneeko saying like, hey, if you were meeting somebody's daughter and they were Muslim, they wouldn't want you to date their daughter. You don't fit into that lifestyle. And Sneeko took that as a personal attack. I was like, well, now I'm going to shit on you for your wife and your kid. And in my mind, these things there are lots of levels between like the personal attack versus like the broad like macro ideology. But then I'm thinking like, well, maybe it's not different for some people. Is that my fault? Is that their fault? I don't know. I will forever shit on Myron's approach to relationships. I think that one-sided open relationships are toxic. I think they're stupid. I think the advice he gives is bad, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But like, if it comes to the fact, or if it comes out that like Myron and Angie break up, I'm not going to dance on their relationship. Like, see, that relationship fucking ended because of his one-sided open shit, blah, blah. Like, I don't know their fucking relationship. I don't know what's going on. They might have ended for some totally different fucking reason, right? I have no fucking idea, right? I'm not like, I'll criticize his macro ideas and his approach, but I'm not going to like go in on like his personal shit. And I think even the same with Sneeko. I don't know if I've ever made personal comments about his relationships. But I might have after things got unhinged between both of us, maybe. But I don't know. I don't think I have, but I might have. I'm not, yeah. We're starting with any relationship control. Oh, it's fine. Everything's fine. Okay. Sorry. You still going on scuffed? Yeah, for sure. I'm 28 and went back to uni for a second in computer science. This is like college 2.0 for me. Thing is, I work from home, so college would in theory be amazing for me to socialize, but in reality, I feel way older than everyone around me, and I'm not really interested in girls that much younger. Okay, well, do a master's program? I don't know. Everybody in college is going to be 18 to 22. When is your next trip? Right now, I have nothing planned for December. Maybe early, mid-January. January 10th. Do you think you are showing a certain image now for us or for the internet, but you're actually unstable/depressed? Or is it true that you are okay, just like you're showing yourself right now? I just want to make sure you are fine. Wow, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. For better or for worse, pretty much everything I show online is authentic. I don't fake anything. Like 2 weeks ago, I was mega spiraling, but that's why I didn't stream. And I think I said as much for 5 days. Like, I'm not streaming. I'm like hardcore sorting through a lot of shit, a lot of feelings I have relating to Mel, relating to this other dude, relating to our relationship, relating to myself. Like, there was a whole bunch of shit that I was like double backing on, thinking about spiraling. But I'm not going to stream when I'm like in a super mega depressed mood, or like having like breakdowns on stream, or like I'm just not going to stream. Yeah, but I would never like fake my happiness. Yeah, I'm not gonna like fake being happy for stream. Yeah, I feel okay. Benchmark Dr. Phil show still happening, I think, in January. It's all, ain't no way you aren't taking a Christmas Day break. Maybe. I might go hang out with my family because they're like a 40-minute drive away. Yeah. Does this mean more time for D&D? Maybe, we'll see. Would you ever date an asexual? Would I date an asexual? Like, I'm not gonna say no. Like, that's possible. Like, the really important things for me, for a main partner, is I like to have somebody that I can see throughout the day because I'm a very physical person. I like grabbing somebody, touching somebody. I like somebody that I can sleep with, like, because I enjoy cuddling with somebody at night. It sucks sleeping alone. It's kind of lonely. And ideally, like somebody you can like share thoughts, ideas, and kind of like a life with. Those are like the really important things for me. If I theoretically was like dating an asexual and then I like fucked a bunch of other people, I mean, I guess I could. I would still feel weird about, like I said, any type of one-sided relationship or when the boundaries get significantly different for both people. That feels really strange to me. So I don't know if it would work in practice, but like I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say 100% that I would never do this or it would work. I'm not sure. Is it a coincidence that this happened 2 years after your marriage? For instance, the green card. Yeah, this is something that like I can't. If you have ideas about Mel and what she is and what she's doing, that she's like a money-hungry gold digger looking for green cards, you just don't understand anything about her. But again, you don't have the ability to understand women or individuals because you've already run it through this insane red pill lens, and it prohibits you from like understanding other people. So, but there's also nothing I can say to convince you out of it, right? Like it doesn't even make any sense. Like your theory can explain literally every single behavior that Mel has. She could do anything and you would say it's red pill. If she dumps me for a richer guy, it's because she was always looking to upgrade. If she dumps me for a poorer guy, it's alpha fucks beta bucks. If she doesn't dump me and stays with me, she's using for my money. If she does dump me, it's because she wants to take half in the divorce. If she dumps me but doesn't take any money in the divorce, it's because she didn't respect me anyway. There's like, no matter what, if one thing you should always think about is if you're making predictions about the future and literally if anything happens, your theory can explain it, it's probably a bad prediction, right? Because an economist will take a formula and they'll retrofit it to see if it makes accurate predictions. And if you've got something that predicts everything, it really doesn't predict anything. So, yeah. What do you mean when you say spiraling? I would say that in general, emotions are really hard to get a hold of when they start to run down a certain path. And when you start feeling something emotionally, you can do or fall into behaviors that are reinforcing those negative emotions, and you can continue to spiral on that path. So you might get an idea of, here's an example. You might think like, oh my God, I think my girlfriend is cheating on me. And then you go and check your Snap Maps and you see that she's at a restaurant. It's like, oh my God, she's with a guy. And then you check her Instagram and you saw that like 2 weeks ago, she responded to some guy. And she's like, oh my God, she's like, and you could actually invent like a whole new thing that is not even close to resembling what's going on. And then when you finally confront the person on it, you've already built like all of this shit up. And then it's like, fuck. And then everything. Yeah. So yeah, I think spiraling is for that. In my head, I usually just start thinking of like, what are the absolute worst things that can happen? And like, what about past that and past that? And then I start to get into like a really weird mindset where I'm like, yeah, but I realize I'm spiraling. I just need to like do something different. What's going to happen with monetary compensation? You just pay for not signing a prenup. I know that everybody's like really obsessed with this talking point. I don't think Mel is getting any of my money. We signed a postnuptial agreement. Our marriage was short term. We don't have any kids or shared assets. People are very, very, very interested in that. But no, there's nothing. There's no talk of like, yeah, she's never mentioned like wanting to fight for anything. We've already signed a postnuptial agreement. Like, yeah, but people think you promote and advocate poly or people, when in reality, I've heard you say you just personally like poly and I understand people. Can you clarify for the people who are misrepresenting you? I don't know if there's any point in clarifying. I already said these things like a million times. Like, I don't advocate for my relationship stuff. I don't advocate for almost anything I do in life. I think I'm a relatively exceptional person, like exception to the rule, not better than you, although I'm a relatively exceptional person in a lot of ways. I don't recommend a lot of what I do for my lifestyle for like other people. So yeah, but anytime I say something, people take it as like, yes, she said everyone should do this. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, if you, like, if that's what you think, like, knock yourself out. Talk about the Jubilee thing. I mean, like, it was boring. It wasn't like bombastic. It was just like a middle ground episode. It was okay. Have you noticed amphetamines negatively impact your optics or debate style? For 2 examples, compare the Whatever podcast prior debate to the most recent. And then there's the Vosh and Majority Report girl whose number I forgot. You appear quicker to anger first and for longer, less coherent, even when your arguments are strong. I don't agree with that at all. I don't think that's true at all. Michael Knowles reacting to you. Okay, hold on. What the fuck is this? How's the weight going with the Vyvanse? It's going great. I'm going to 145 and then we're hitting the gym up again. Hopefully mid-January. I should just start running again at the least, but bump. What are we doing? Hold on. Somebody said, do amphetamines make you less horny? I mean, like, I feel like I can control it better. Okay. How are you able to halt the spiraling? For me, there's two things. So I can give you strategies, but I'm going to be totally honest with you, and I'm going to say that for whatever reason, I'm very, 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 very lucky that my mental baseline is very high. So generally, if I'm ever in a really, really, really bad place mentally, I know that if I sleep, when I wake up, I'll always feel better. I don't know if that's true for everybody, so take that with a grain of salt. But that has always been the case for me, thank God. But I would say to prevent spiraling, a few things. One is talking to friends can help, but don't just dwell on your problems, vent a little bit and then talk to somebody else, number one. And then number two is I think it is incredibly important to cut the other person out of your life in as many ways possible that trigger you. So one of the instances, so for instance, I kept saying that like, I'm going to stream. And then I would say, I can't stream. I got triggered. When I say I got triggered, what I actually meant is I started checking other social media and shit. And then I started catastrophizing. And then I started spiraling. I was like, fuck, my mood is destroyed for the day. Why did I even fucking do this? Yeah. If you're hung up over like a person, like literally block them. Block them. Don't look at their shit, because if you do that, you'll send yourself down like bad roads. Don't do that. Yeah, the best way to stop spiraling is to stop the start of spiraling, because once you start, that's why it's called spiraling. It's because it's hard to stop it. Yeah. Keep your protein high, do light gym work. You'll get shredded as you lose weight. Don't lose your muscle. That's the harder. That's way too late. My muscle is gonzo garbanzo. I'm like a stick again. But I imagine it shouldn't be that hard to get it back, I guess, but fuck it. Do you know that Lav is hanging out every night on Gisticle Stream with Orbiters? That's not surprising. Listen, Lav is good content, okay? Have you ever killed anyone? Just your mom. Good one. Does sex feel different on Adderall? I will say that it does. Yeah. But I would be very careful with that. I don't want to go into that, because that could be an abuse vector. Huge pro tip for spiraling: if you can at all, either drag yourself out or get friends to drag you out. Even going for a quiet walk makes a big difference. Yeah, sure. Like whatever you can do to stay busy and get your mind off things. Are ADHD meds an actual weight loss option? So here's how ADHD meds help me, but they can also work in a lot of different ways. So be careful with what I say. For me, I just don't feel as strong of an impulse to snack or eat random shit. So like before, if like something is laying around, or if I pass by the fridge, like I want to grab something, I have like that impulse, like I want to get blah, 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 blah. If I'm in an airport, I'll buy cookies. I just don't feel that impulse anymore. Now, if your dose is high enough, you could forget to eat, or you're like starving yourself, or not drinking water. So weight loss could be a positive effect of amphetamine use, or weight loss could be a negative side effect of amphetamine use. So it's really important in your mind that you identify what's happening, right? If you've stopped like the impulse eating, but you're still eating normal meals and you're keeping hydrated and all of that, then that's fine. But if it's just like you just like starve yourself for 12 hours, that's not fine. So it's important, if you're losing weight on an amphetamine, you need to be sure of like, is it for the good reason or the bad reason? Because one can be positive, one can be a negative side effect. Just, be careful with that. Okay, listen, things happen. How many IRL friends do you have? I don't know, a decent amount. Enough people to talk to. Do you think long distance is doable? No, absolutely not. Do not ever do a long distance relationship. Statistically speaking, you're better off with poly and open relationships than long distance relationships. Distance and time will always destroy every single relationship. Don't ever do that. It's not a good idea. I'm giving you this is the most strong feeling I have on relationships in my entire life. That's really, really, really bad. Because when people are around other people in proximity, they'll develop feelings for them, even if they love you, and things will happen, and it's just like not good. Yeah. Do you think things would not have gone downhill if you spent more time in Sweden, or we already used something apart? Oh, for Mel? Maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't know if I could ever move to Europe. It's just like, I would have to stay awake at weird hours. The tax situation would be a nightmare. The paperwork would be annoying. I travel to US a lot for podcasts and shit. Like, I don't know. I think you have to outline why it's bad to shit on someone's personal life versus the idea. The reason using personal relationships as ammo is bad is because you're assuming a lot of details about their life and assigning a narrative that you have low certainty to think is true, which can cause a lot of harm. You risk creating a public narrative about them that isn't true, which can gaslight someone about abuse or wrong treatment. Talking about ideas doesn't pose a risk. Maybe. I mean, that is partially why, but I also think there's like a mutual respect thing in not digging into somebody's personal life, even if it does fit your example well. But yeah, I don't know how to think about it. I'm not sure. Yeah. Have you ever tried Viagra? I have, and while, yeah, it improves your ability to last longer, it makes me less horny. I have not tried Viagra. I don't think I would ever try a sex drug. I would be if I was to ever get addicted on anything in my life, it would be something related to sex. So the idea of like doing Viagra and finding like, oh my God, like I'm never getting soft ever again. Yeah, that would be super scary to me. Anya Jungle, how to stop taking Adderall because my donger stopped working, beware. Okay. You also could have been on too high dose, but whatever, okay. Why would you want to be less horny? You waste too much time of the day chasing girls or masturbating. Is the Anna Kasparian combo still happening? Maybe. Screw League, play, there's no plan right now. Screw League, play Eternal, rerun, or return. That's so much better, okay. Are you gonna watch the Dick and Maddox drama? Maybe.
Something else to consider. I think Kelly might have a lot of latency, so maybe dipping in between the silence might be affected there.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh. I don't know what you mean. What is wait and see? Like, I try and wait for a gap, and then sometimes people just take a longer time to respond.
Nice. Destiny, she blocked you though. I don't know what this is in response to. Red pill guys are dumb, but they're obviously correct about open relationships. You constantly say this happens in closed too, but it's obviously infinitely more likely in an open relationship. Okay, sure. I don't... listen, think what you think. I don't have to argue with that. Okay. Thoughts on the Orbiter stream while you're away? Pretty fucking cool note. Community feels like its own beast even without movies. Sure, yeah. Why are you not hitting the gym again? Honestly, because all of this personal shit over the past like month or two, my free time is like is very, very limited, and my gym stuff fits in like very neatly in one spot. Like I said, like my ideal schedule is like I should be like waking up at 9, like from 9 to 9:30 is like reading, from like 9:30 to 11 should be like gym, from 11 to 12 should be like it's my time for meetings, emails, and messages to catch up on that. From 12 to 10 should be stream. 10 to 11 should be doing emails and messages, because I try to do 12 hours for emails. Should be emails and messages again, and then maybe meetings at night. And then 11 to like 12:30 is kind of like my relationship time or hangout time. And then 1 o'clock should be sleep. If I'm going through like any kind of drama or shit is like getting in my life, I try not to let it impact stream first. So I try to keep hitting my hours. If something is really dramatic or really bad, or if I'm not streaming, that means I'm definitely taking away from everything else is falling apart too. So if there are days where like I'm not streaming, it's not like I'm hitting everything and then I'm just like, oh, I just won't stream right now. It probably means that like all of my other time is being bled into and getting with whatever stupid shit is going on. So yeah. Since you've cucked and edged to max, what's the content tonight? Kick or keep? Are you gonna start living with a girl in a month? We'll see. Hopefully not. I don't know, bro. We'll see. What's the what's that Reddit post? I'm swearing off our relationships. Was Mel upset about you medicating? No, I don't think anybody in my life is upset about that. Are you now going to become a passport bro? I don't think I could ever talk to a woman with a huge language barrier, or somebody that I like felt like I significantly outranked in terms of like anything. I don't think I could handle that. I need somebody that's like kind of, that I feel like is kind of like on my level. I feel like Mel generally I don't know. You often describe yourself as exceptional in a lot of ways. Does this ever lead to feeling an isolation or alienation within? If so, how do you manage those feelings? A little bit. It's kind of hard to figure out like when you're the exception and when you're the rule. Because obviously like a lot of people bullshit themselves into thinking that they're the exception when they're really the rule. And even I fall into that trap sometimes. But because of the way that a lot of people talk about things, that's like a very, very, very difficult thing to sort through. I've noticed that a lot, and it's actually gotten to the point where I get super triggered. And it's funny because I'm getting triggered the exact same way that I would get triggered in high school and college when it comes to ADHD talk. Because I've noticed for a lot of the symptoms of ADHD, when you have ADHD in a really severe way especially, there are ways that it manifests that Everybody says it does, but it absolutely doesn't, right? Like I remember talking to kids and I'm like, bro, fuck, I don't study at all. And they're like, oh yeah, like me neither. Like I never study. And then they'll get like a 98 on like some exam that's like heavy in rote memorization. I was like, damn, how'd you do this? Like, yeah, over the past week we were doing study groups. So thankfully, you know, like on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we studied for 4 hours each day. It's like, you study for 12 hours for this test? What the fuck are you serious? Like people would make comments like that all the time. It would drive me crazy, where people say, oh yeah, like I have all these problems too, I can't do this as well, like, oh, I always forget about homework. What do you mean you always forget about homework? You've turned in every single assignment on time this year except for like 2. What do you mean you always forget about homework? And they're like, well, one time I did the wrong page number. And it's like, bro, fuck you. Yeah, for ADHD there's a lot of people who like they I don't know if they're just doing it because it's like popular. Oh my god, it's the 21 Jump Street movie. Fuck me. Maybe people don't do this in school anymore. Way back in the day, okay, I don't know how much of this is 21 Jump Street or not, okay? I'm being honest with you, I don't know. Back in my day, it was cool not to do anything. You don't want to be somebody trying, okay? Trying is so cringe. Trying is so cringe. What? You don't want to like, I don't study, I don't do any of this shit. That's fucking cringe. So people would say shit like that, but they do. They do a lot of shit. I'm like, motherfucker, right? Yeah, where are your guys' massive discrepancies on like standardized testing versus grades or homework assignments? Like, where's your massive discrepancy based on like the type of class you're in or whatever? Like, where's your massive fucking issue like doing this or that or that? And people always complain about shit, but like, that's not really, not to say that not everybody's like that, but yeah, for my life, like the ADHD shit was definitely a huge like mind fuck, because people would always say they have the same types of problems, but they're like not even in the same fucking ballpark, okay? Not even remotely close, but yeah. Destiny, physical attractiveness is mostly objective and is the most important factor when it comes to choosing mates for both sexes. Stop coping with different preferences. Your beauty is objective. Okay, Captain Black Pillar. Listen, if you want to move through life like that, go for it. You don't have to listen to anything I'm saying. If you believe that, believe it. I mean, what do you want me to say? Is Ritalin similar to amphetamines for appetite? I don't know. Ritalin and Concerta are methylphenidate, and amphetamines are amphetamines. I think they're usually dextroamphetamine and some other, for Adderall it's a few other ones. I don't know if methylphenidate affects your appetite in the same way that an amphetamine stimulant does. I don't know. You have already answered this, but are you willing to try an open relationship again? Yeah, it's just the style of relationships I would do. I don't think I would ever do a monogamous relationship, but maybe in like 5 or 10 years, maybe my feelings will change on that. I don't know. I genuinely mean no disrespect and don't want to prod any wounds, but there is an honest question I have. You started off saying that you want to keep it open because you think you are the best fit for your partner, and if you aren't, you wouldn't want her to stay with you. Has your idea on that changed, or is there some nuance I'm missing? No, I think my idea still feels the exact same way. Like I've always said as much. Like there are different people that have different qualities, and if you want something different than what I can offer, then yeah, go to a different person. Like I don't want to keep something like a miserable relationship, or where they feel like there's a huge mismatch on like certain traits. Like I still feel the same way about that. Obviously that can suck if you like another person and they leave and you want them to stay around or some shit. But I mean, that's, you know, I'd rather that, and then you go through kind of like the pain of like a separation, if that happens, versus like keeping somebody like stuck with you forever because they, you know, you have a kid or you're married or some other shit. In my opinion, that's how I view it. But I understand that not everybody feels the same way. Do you think parents these days are just doing a better job today at making kids try at school? No idea. Have you ever abused Benadryl? No. I don't think I've ever abused any drug. I've done a lot of drugs recreationally, but I've never been like I have to do this every day, or I feel like an addiction, or for recreational use on things. Yeah. Are we done with most of this? Did you see Russell Barkley's criticism of the DSM-5 diagnostic criteria for ADHD? They're quite scathing. He thinks inattentiveness / hyperfocusing are almost useless diagnostic criteria, and that ignoring the emotional component of ADHD is essentially missing the core of the dysfunction. I've not seen that, so I can't comment on it. You claimed on Fresh and Fit that your marriage is obviously strong since you married her without a prenup. Whether or not you want to sign a prenup or not, I don't think speaks ever to like the strength of a relationship. You did on Lex Friedman? Oh, so I was probably making a joke. Yeah, if you want to, whether or not you sign a prenup doesn't have anything to do with the strength of a relationship. There are definitely some people, especially when you get into like higher asset classes, I could definitely understand why some people like want to sign a prenup. This is the clip about the prenup thing.
You guys have a high degree of confidence that your marriage will last for decades?
I mean, I married her without a prenup. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm joking, right? Like, obviously. Or Well, like, I'm half joking. I mean, like, yeah, I didn't marry with a prenup. I don't think it would happen. But, like, this is way different than me saying, if you marry somebody without a prenup, you don't have, like, faith in the relationship. You're, like, hardcore, you're hardcore reading, like, a huge prescription there, right? In terms of, like, if there's a girl that's like, oh, did you guys hook up last night? I'm like, yeah. And it's like, oh, did you both show each other STD tests first? And I'm like, no, I trust this girl. To say that, like, Destiny, you said that if you trust people, you would never check an STD test. That's not analogous. That's not even close to analogous. Yeah. You've made a lot of comments about your relationship being stronger than red pillars. That's why we're here. You have to fall on your sword a little bit, or else we'll continually say it's cope. Again, for a group of people that are virgins largely and have never had relationship experience, why would I ever have you guys say anything is cope in my life? Again, I'm very open about all of my life shit. Do you know what the real cope is? The real cope is you saying that I'm coping, because in your mind, different thought patterns can't exist. You're the one coping, because in your mind, there's no way anybody can actually believe that. There's no way anybody, it doesn't make any sense. Because you lack the ability to predict or understand the world, you have to say that things that disagree with you are copes, right? I can't help you with that. I can't do anything. I can't respond to somebody screaming cope, 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 whatever. There's nothing I can say. Like, again, like, all of my shit is like really public, and it has been for a long time. My life has borne itself out to be the way that it is. If you like, you can accuse me of a lot of things, but like being a liar or whatever, or coping about shit, like, is not like, it's just, it doesn't fit with any of my, stuff. Also, I don't know if I've necessarily said my relationship is stronger than red pillars, although I could see myself saying that. But also, I think I could still say that, right? I would still argue that, like, if you've had a history of like a 5-year relationship, which I've had multiple long-term relationships, that's a stronger history of relationships than somebody that has like 1 year is like the longest they've dated somebody, right? But it also depends on like how your relationships went, everything too. So yeah, I don't know. Do you think it's important to be on medication if you have ADHD? If you have ADHD, like, it's confirmed, diagnosed, and it's like having impacts on your life or whatever, I think medication is probably pretty important. But that's a conversation that you should have with your doctor. Figure that out. Are you interested in moving out of Miami? The thing is that right now I really like the East Coast because it does put me on a really good time zone for streaming. If I moved to the West Coast, it's gonna put me like 3 hours outside of the West. Outside of Europe, which is really rough. I don't know. Wait, hold on. Daniel Tan, $20. What it's worth, I feel you going through any relationship, really much less a divorce. It's already difficult. Going through it publicly and having a bunch of people trying to make value judgments, like, it is what it is. Wait, hold on. Apparently I missed this one. I saw somebody type this on my other screen on my Kick chat. Why avoided the age gap question? Wait, what is the age gap question? What did I miss? Destiny, I'm married and we have sex with girls together. The virgin stuff doesn't work on me. I've never agreed with your relationship takes, and this confirmed it for me. I just want to hear you say fully open relationships don't really work. Okay, well, come back to me when your girl ditches you because she turns into a lesbian, my dude. Have fun. Okay. Just curious if any of your thoughts on age gaps have changed. No, not at all. No. That's another thing that like red pillars will never acknowledge or whatever. But like the age gap between me and Melina has always been like a huge pain point in our relationship. Dating younger people is a huge risk. And I've always said that. And technically that is true. And it might even be a large, because that was always one of our pain points for like fighting. But yeah, dating people that are significantly younger is always scary because their preferences and feelings on things can change a lot as they get older. And that's kind of outside of your control. Yeah. Is there anything to suggest that if you stop taking your medication, that ADHD becomes worse because you're not used to controlling it on your own? No, there is no evidence of that. Also, I don't know if you can control ADHD on your own. I think it might actually physically be impossible. You have to develop like external measures for shit because internally, I think there are parts of your brain that are deficit that you don't, So like the only thing you can really do is like externalize all of the shit that's not working in your brain. And if you've already learned to externalize it, why would you forget that if you're on medication? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah. How did you know you had ADHD and you don't just talk yourself into a self-diagnosis? Well, for me, when I was looking at Nathan, a lot of it just had to do with childhood behaviors. Probably an unhealthy obsession and fixation with video games, like such to the extent that where like I would come at home at 3 p.m. and I would go to sleep so that I could wake up at 11 p.m. to play games without people bothering me. Probably huge discrepancies in certain behaviors as a child. So for instance, like I said, like I'm pretty sure I give a different number for my GPA all the time. It was somewhere between 2.0 and 3.0. I think it was like 2.7. Like having a 35 on the ACT and like a 2.7 GPA that's already being like curved up because of like all my AP and doing remote courses, like that's a huge discrepancy. Probably like the unique things that didn't apply to other kids. So like a lot of people will say like, oh, I didn't do homework either. But like for several years in grade school, I had to have my assignment notebook had to be signed off on by the teacher and my parents. And if I didn't get it signed by both, I would get detention because I was so bad about like doing homework. You had a 2.7 weighted GPA? Yes. So unweighted, it might have been below 2.0. I'm not sure. Yeah, there's like a lot of shit like that. Yeah. I believe she called this a lie. Oh, listen, Lav can say what she said. I've said what I've said. If you think I'm lying about things, then knock yourself out, okay? What's the oldest woman you've dated? Dated? Probably, well, like, that depends because now I'm older. Like, if my high school girlfriend was 1 year older than me, but she was 17 and I was 16, does that count as like the same as me dating like, is a 28-year-old older than an 18-year-old if I was 17 when I dated the 18-year-old and, 35 when I dated the 28-year-old? Like, I'm not sure. Most of the women that I've dated, I would say, have been within 1 to 2 years of my age, except for Melina. I don't remember how old Teresa was, right? Yeah, I don't know. Most of the women I've dated have been like within my like 1 to 2 years of age, I think. I'm pretty sure. What would it take to change your mind on open relationships? I don't know. I become significantly less horny? I don't know. I'm not sure. Has your stance on apologies and taking responsibility changed after this, or does that still really not matter to you? My stance is kind of the same. I probably presented it pretty hyperbolically in the past. I think I can appreciate an apology, but like 99% of the time, they're just like worthless. Like an apology, if you want to do an apology, okay, here, I'll give you this, okay? If you want to do an apology, this is how an apology has to go, okay? This is how an apology has to go. And if it doesn't go like this, then it means nothing, okay? So it has to be, one is clearly stating the thing you did wrong with absolutely no explanation, okay? This is the first thing, / justification, okay? 2 is, okay, acknowledging exactly why it was wrong and how it negatively affected the other person. 3 is taking responsibility solely for the action without explanation or justification. And then 4 is clearly stating how you are going to avoid this in the future, giving specific examples. Any apology that is not this is a waste of time, and I would rather you just don't even talk to me. Don't say it. I don't want to hear anything you're going to say, okay? Most people cannot apologize well, though, right? For most people, I would say don't even bother. Don't waste your time, because you're probably f***ing up, you're probably making it worse. But like, here would be an example, okay? Let's say that I'm in class. I can give you an example. I'm going to show you how to f*** up on every single step. I can show you how to f*** up on every single step, okay? You're in class. You're hanging out with kind of a friend or whatever. You guys are all joking. Your friend is overweight. And you say like, hey, why are you joking about this? You're a fat Captain Burger King, right? A proper apology would say, when you talk to them later, you say, okay, listen up. When we were in class, okay, I called you a fat right? Very explicitly, very clearly, okay? You don't deserve to be called that. I know that this is like something that probably makes you feel horrible, and I'm literally laughing at your expense for something you feel self-conscious about in front of every other person, okay? There was no excuse for why I did that. I didn't need to. I shouldn't have said that. It was just out of bounds. Like, there's no reason for me to make this comment. In the future, I will never make a comment about your weight or maybe we can even talk beforehand for like, what are things you're comfortably joking about or not, right? That would be a like step on you've hit every point and like, this is a good apology, okay? Here's how these are usually messed up, okay? So we can go through on every part, okay? The first one would be, okay, listen, all right? We were all bantering in class, okay? We were all bantering in class. All of us were saying crazy shit, and I said something crazy too, okay? We were all saying crazy shit, all right? Right? So that's the first one, okay? You're not even clearly saying what you did wrong, okay? You're not even like clearly owning it. Like, well, hold on, what did you say? What was it? Like, you're like already externalizing blame on other people and other situations. Like, no. So you're not even clearly saying, okay? The second part is like, I didn't know that you got upset at these comments, okay? I didn't think you would even get hurt. I didn't think it would bother you. I had no idea. Like, I don't know why you feel this way or whatever, right? So you acknowledge the thing, but you're like, I don't even know why it was wrong, right? I don't know why this even bothered you, right? And then the third thing would be something along the lines of like we were all joking about shit, and you've made comments in the past. You made fun of my bike because you thought that it was rusty. Okay, so I thought I could make fun of you for being fat. You never said anything like this before, right? So again, you're not taking responsibility. You're justifying why you made the insult. And then at the end, you're like I'll try to I just won't joke at all with you anymore. I guess I'm just never gonna have like that type of conversation with you again. I'm not gonna joke about that because yeah. And then four is like you're not giving like a clear like how are we gonna avoid this in the future. You just like overgeneralize, you're vague or whatever, right? That would be an example of like that's like an exceptionally bad apology because all four parts of that missed. But if you miss any one of these, it can kind of like f your whole apology up. But yeah. I would say that like these are the steps to like a good apology. Now, obviously, there are things that you could make exceptions to, but if you don't know how, then you just shouldn't, right? So like for instance, let's say you come into class and you make a joke about like, oh, I want to f your mom, and you didn't know that his mom was dead, right? That's something where you legitimately could. You walk the other things like, dude, I shouldn't be making jokes about your mom. I'm super sorry. I'm sure that you probably felt like shit having me like bring that up as a fucking joke in front of everybody. But this might be on number 3 where you could say like, truly, I'm so sorry. I had no idea your mom's passed away. I could have checked with you beforehand on that. I could have like asked a question, or maybe that was a dumb thing for me to just assume, right? So there are like things where if you genuinely didn't know, you can like kind of put these in here, but you got to be so careful that, because oftentimes what'll happen is when people apologize, they try to make it sound like they didn't actually do anything wrong, and then they make you feel crazy because they're like, yeah, like how could I possibly know this thing? How could I possibly expect that? How could I, right? And then you end up feeling shitty. Yeah. Yeah. Somebody in YouTube chat said, hold on, it's a YouTuber. Let me see how many subs you have before I call your comment stupid. Let me check. 765,000 subs. Okay, I won't say anything. Never mind. Oh, that was your stance on apologies. I'm just kidding. Somebody in chat said, he said in chat, I'd still be fat today if my friend didn't make fun of me. I mean, like, that's the thing you can say, but like, the reality is making fun of fat people doesn't help. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't actually fix anybody's fatness. It never has. I mean, like, it could in exceptional circumstances, but for the most part, it just doesn't work that well. The problem is like making fun of people that's like an immediately negative, or technically it would be positive punishment, but people call it negative reinforcement, even though it's technically psychologically a misnomer, but I'll say negative reinforcement, right? The problem is that like when you make fun of somebody, that's something that makes you feel bad immediately, but obesity and stuff relating to diet is super delayed reward and super delayed negative outcome, or I don't know what you would say, right? So the reward mechanisms for this don't really work the same, right? For an example, if you go to the gym right now, it's painful and the reward is many weeks away. If you go and eat a quadruple cheeseburger or double deluxe or whatever right now, the reward is immediate and the negative outcomes are far into the future, right? This is one of the huge issues with like dietary stuff and obesity and working out and all that, is the reward process for this is so separated from the action itself. It makes it really hard to maintain good behaviors without like discipline or schedule or something. But if you, but just like making fun of people, if making fun of people made them not be fat, there'd be no fat people. Like literally nobody would be fat because everybody makes fun of fat people. Like it just wouldn't be a thing anymore, you know? Yeah. There is a way to cure ADHD destiny. Many people with ADHD's kids grow out of it by the time they're 18, 25, lost a critical phase of brain development. If you don't, you will never lose it. Oh, sure. But like, that's just like a neurodevelopmental thing. That's like a biological genetic thing. I don't think there's a behavior pattern that you can do to cure ADHD. Some people just grow out of it. If your ADHD is very slight, I think as you grow up, different parts of your brain can catch up neurodevelopmentally by the time you're 25 or 30, but I don't think there's an action you can take to fix that or do anything. What about Texas? Moving to Texas. I've thought about it, but one, it's so hot. It would be a lot cheaper. Would I move to Texas? CST puts me 1 hour outside of EST. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. I still have a year lease here, and I've leased that studio downstairs for a year, so we'll see. I have a really hard time stepping away or giving space to my partner in an argument. It feels like such a waste of time for both of us to stew and recreate what happened in our mind. Any advice? Wait, are you a guy or a girl? I am so curious. I've heard of guys and girls doing this, but usually it's girls doing this. Listen, at this point in my life, this is what I would say. I would say that there is a right way to resolve conflict and there is a wrong way to resolve conflict. If you expect your partner to be able to immediately resolve an issue between the two of you and you can't give them space, I would say that that's something that you need to work on. It is not fair for you to levy that expectation at your partner, and I think it's a bad form of conflict resolution. I think you need to work on that with a therapist. I think it is unreasonable to demand a partner resolve conflict immediately, especially if they're a bit emotionally dysregulated at the beginning of an argument. That would be my statement on that. But or with guns. Do you take any supplements or vitamins? Just Red Bull and Soylent, baby. Do you plan on doing more research into the Middle East? I think we'll probably switch to South America next. We'll talk about that after probably like 20 minutes. We'll wrap up all this talk. Because I want to be... All right, yeah, I don't want to like answer questions about this for like weeks or whatever. What is the State of the Bridges podcast? All of that stuff is, I'm going to be in Miami for at least a year. That's not changing. 2025 would be the early start move out, January or December of 2024. So I'm here until then. Lycan is contracted for a year. The studio downstairs for the podcast is contracted for a year. Like everything is, yeah. Do you think Max has reached out to Melina? No clue, don't care. If I started amphetamines younger, I feel like I would have abused them for gaming, kind of like how XQC is now. Pepe laughed. Do you think if you had the meds during high school, you would have used them responsibly? Absolutely. In high school, and this even has carried over, this is part of the reason why I had such a negative view of like drugs in general. I was very much like a dare kid. I was like, I think I'd probably gotten wasted twice. I think I drank alcohol twice in my life before I turned 21, because I'd always heard that like when you drink alcohol, you permanently kill brain cells that never come back. So I'd never wanted to. I was so fucking petrified of that. Anything relating to like drugs has always been like super, super, super scary to me. When did you start doing drugs? Recreational drugs? I didn't start until I was 30, really. I'd done like edibles and smoked a little bit of weed prior to that, but are you guys getting divorced for sure, or could things change? You to work it out? I mean, like, there is a path forward where things change, but listen, right now, the ball's in Melina's court on all that shit. I've said what I've had to say. We'll see what happens. It will be funny if we get back together, though, and then it would be, the best world would be us getting back together and breaking up again. And then we can play this drama over and over again into the future, into perpetuity, you know? It'd be amazing. Academic City is going to go to Miami this month. You're going to set something up for this podcast. That would be fucking hilarious, but... Would you ever consider doing a dating advice / podcast? We've talked about it in the past a little bit. The problem that I have is that one, I don't like to fight about a lot of stuff because I get really frustrated really quickly, because I feel like a lot of the people that exist in these spaces, their advice has no relationship with reality whatsoever. And then I'm stuck like arguing over shit that like blows my mind, and it's not fun for me. Like I remember when I was on Fresh and Fit, and me and Walter were arguing about, he said something along the lines of like, you need to f a girl as soon as possible to know if you like her, which in my mind is like obviously not true. Like, I don't even think I would be prepared to defend that position. It's so obviously not true, or argue against it. And then I argued that like, I think there are other ways you can tell. And they were like, well, how or whatever. And I said something, I was like, well, I think like you have a chemistry with a person before you ever f them. And then like everybody started laughing at me because they're like, chemistry? What are you talking about? And I'm like, wait, what the f? Wait, is this what? Yeah, but there's so many arguments. I'm picking on Fresh and Fit a lot, but like there's a lot of like these types of dating shows, PUA shows or whatever, where, you know what? Fuck, I need to stop simping for this guy. Tristan would be an interesting person to talk about because he was a guy that did a whole series of videos and everything where I was like, this guy has a really good understanding of how, at least for the hookup part or the getting a woman into a relationship part, he seems to have a really good understanding of this. Tristan is somebody that I felt that with. Andrew Tate, maybe. I don't think I've heard him seriously talk about relationship stuff, but yeah. But yeah, so one, I just don't enjoy arguing a lot in these spaces. It would be fun to argue with other people that I felt similarly had a lot of experience and knew a lot in these spaces. That was kind of why it was fun to talk with or argue with Brittany, although we didn't really argue much. But yeah, arguing with a lot of other experienced people, like I need to know that you've had a lot of hookup experience, you've had a lot of dating experience, you've had a lot of like relationships, like I want to know like the experience. Those people would be really fun to have discussions with, but they're few and far between, and I don't think people even care. I don't even know sometimes if people care about a lot of this stuff because it feels like when I look at the red pill stuff and everything, it feels like it's just become another like political vector. Like nobody in these spaces is actually looking for relationship advice or hookup advice because the advice isn't good. It doesn't work. I know that for a fact. Most of the red pill advice and even they've admitted it on shows when I'll go on and ask, like, you know that like the shit you're saying can only apply to 1% of people, right? And they've even said, yeah, this probably only work for 1% of people, right? The idea that like if you cheat on a girl, it makes her more competitive. The idea that you have to be ultra masculine and never cry and never be vulnerable. Like the idea that, yeah, like all these weird games, like this doesn't work for like 99% of people. You can get away with it if you're like top 1% and you're hitting way below your pay grade, right? Like I could go to a college and like spin, 4 or 5 girls based on my reputation and money, but like that's why the f would I even look for relationships like that? But again, like I said, sorry. I mean, I also when I say this, I'm going to sound like very like, oh, you think you're so much better than these advice than this other, and I do. So it's frustrating for me. But I mean, I'm sure they feel the same way about me. They say like, oh, obviously, blah blah, your relationship just ended. So hey, who knows? Will you be staying on Vivance for the rest of your life? Maybe, I don't know, unless I find something better. But this is like perfect for me. Oh. How would an adult go about bringing up the ADHD topic with your doctor without looking like a drug seeker or something? I don't know. Childhood behaviors are probably really important to point to, I think, for that. But your longest running relationship was an age gap, source of issues or not. Wouldn't you say this is your most successful relationship? I don't know if I would say that. But also, again, you're just doing the confirmation bias, right? You're saying the longest running relationship was an age gap. Yeah, but maybe it was also because I was older. Also, technically, like for people like Eris, we did it twice. I was technically spent more time with her than I did with Melina. And I could argue that some of my relationships actually might have been healthier that were shorter. So it's just like, yeah, when you're in these, like, the problem is that like if you're in an ideology, like I don't have an ideology about dating, right? I have I've just got a lot of, I've got like a lot of thoughts and ideas based on my experiences and anecdotes. But like people will try to say like, oh, Destiny's like blue pill advice versus like the rebel. Like, bro, I don't have blue pill advice. Like I don't know what the blue pill is. And also I don't even align with like progressives on a lot of shit. There is a lot of shit that I would say that guys can do that is toxic that will absolutely win girls over, obviously. There's a lot of stuff there that I would say this is effective or this works or blah, blah, yeah. So the idea that like people, but again, I think that plays more to the argument that I was making that people view a lot of the red pill and the dating stuff and everything as like, they're part of these like broader political ideologies. And I just have no desire or no, like, I say things that would probably piss off progressives. I say a lot of things that piss off conservatives, but I don't have, that's not a part of my political alignment. Somebody in Kickchat said, you have a stake in looking right. Well, yeah, sure, of course. I want what I say to be right. I think it's right, obviously. Of course I have a stake in being correct. Why would you not have a stake in being correct or not? If you're saying mine is higher because I'm a public figure, whatever, that might be true too. But then just evaluate what I say based on the evidence or whatever. If you disagree or if you think blah, 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 or whatever, then go from there, I guess. When people criticize you for your open relationship and want you to subscribe to monogamy, it feels like they're threatened by it. Why is that? People have a way of viewing the world, and they have a way of constructing other people's minds when they think of them. And if people's minds don't fit a mold, it's very hard to make sense of that. So you immediately have to discredit by calling it like cope or something else. That's the issue. For some people, like the world can only work in a certain way. And if you break a few of those fundamental things, it breaks everything. So at some point, because humans cannot live with cognitive dissonance, right? At some point, the only way to resolve these things is to say that everybody else is lying or everything else is a cope. That's the only way to do it. So that's why, right? Like people can't be bisexual because if guys do anything with guys, that's gay and icky. That's impossible, right? So they must be faking it. Bisexuality isn't real. People can't be like in open or poly relationships because I feel this way really strongly about women and my relationship partner. And if other people are different about it, then I might be wrong or I might have a bad feeling, blah, blah, blah. Therefore, right, you have to say that like, oh, they're all coping, they're lying, they're just trying to sell you, eat the bugs, right? Or like, oh, this person can't think about trauma or rape this way because if they think about it that way, that means maybe I was wrong or I could have handled things better. I can't handle that. They're lying, they're coping, that right. That's how it always goes. Remember, there's two paths to cognitive dissonance resolution. One is you change your thoughts because you like realize you're incorrect about something, or unfortunately, or depending on what you're talking about, more commonly, you change reality, right? Because the dissonance has to be resolved somehow. So you either change what you're thinking or you change like what's externally present to you. So you say that they're lying, you make excuses, or you change your scenery or something else, yeah. Does working out decrease your willpower to think more complexly? I have never heard of that in my life. Every single thing I have ever seen in regards to exercise or whatever always seems to show far more positive impacts on your mind, especially later in life. Yeah. Did you talk about the Hunter Avalon situation? I haven't, but I don't even know what I don't even know what I would say. That was wild. I can't believe he thought to start recording. That was based. Good job, Hunter. He's got that content brain. Holy f***. There are days, by the way, in the past, because I've either woken up late or I was sick, where I didn't take medication. And people will say things like, he's very clearly like tweaking right now. He's very clearly like unhinged. There's a lot of behaviors that I could do that I've done in the past like year, where if I did them today, people are like, oh, you're tweaking. You're like on blah, blah, blah. It's like, what, bro? Do you know who you're watching? Like, what? Bro, I emailed you like 3 PDFs for ADHD. Did you look at them? Wait, Arson GG, are you the one that emailed me the doctor shit where you were like, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to show you this? Because if that's so, I did read both of those on the plane. I thought those were pretty interesting. Kind of. A lot of it was just like diagnostic related shit, but. What is happening with Benny Morris, by the way? Did you, I think I'm talking to him on Friday. I'm talking to him pretty soon, which is cool. Yeah, that's also true. That's also funny too. People were saying I was like added up for like years and years and years. Like Zerka said that 1,000,000 times to me, yeah. Can you suggest some tips to deal with breakups and splits? The number one piece of advice I would always give if you're dealing with a breakup or anything is you have to remove every single thing about that other person from your life. The easiest way to get stuck obsessing about a person for months is to be checking their social media every day, obsessing about every single fucking thing in their life, catastrophizing about what they're doing. Like, you gotta move on. And when I say move on, I mean like you need to aggressively filter shit out of their, if you can't do that, you're always gonna be hung up on that forever. I was thinking, what would you say if the sex teacher crazy woman says something about how she was right and you give feminized vibes and Melina gives masculine vibes? How has one the head in the right place? How has one the head in the right place to counter haters such people end up being right? I mean, I would just point to, I don't want to dive into this. Clearly that's not the case. Are you currently focusing your macro over your BM at the moment? Oh, good one. StarCraft fan. What's the balance between talking to friends to help with the spiraling versus unnecessarily involving people in your relationship and causing them harm to your partner? In my opinion, in a healthy relationship, you have 1 or 2 people that you vent to about problems with your partner. Anything outside of that is wholly inappropriate, I would say. Inappropriate and inexcusable. You should never, ever, ever be... Yeah, you should never make it a habit to vent to everybody in your personal life about your problems. Yeah. Relating to your relationship partner, because you'll poison all of them against you. It's just not good. I've heard sleeping with someone after breakup helps. Does that affect you in any way given poly? You have to be really careful. It is possible. There's a reason why rebounds exist, and you can rebound on somebody, but I would argue that can get you into really bad places really fast. So be very, very, very careful about doing that, because you're gonna end up in a whole new relationship really quick that's really bad for you, and now you're mind fucking yourself and you're mind fucking the other person, and like you can just fuck up so much in your life that way. So be really careful about that. Ultimate Man Project. Are pickup artist guys that are really experienced, and you should definitely talk to Marcus Wolf. Maybe. From what I've seen of the pickup artist community, I might not like some of their like political or socio-political views, but like most of the advice they give seems to generally be pretty good, I think. Generally, I can't even make that statement. I agree with most of what Alex says, generally. Would you give any of the toxic advice on how to be toxic? No, those are the dark arts. Okay. How do you get rid of everything from that person when you share a child with them? Oof. I mean, that's a hard one, but like then you just limit contact. Like you just have your pickups and your drop-offs, but like if you're still emotionally hung up on an ex, you share a child with them, like the only time you should be communicating is stuff related to the child. Also, that should be the only stuff you communicate. Do not, I've seen this happen before. This is the biggest toxic thing ever. Do not use the child to try to gain access to the other person. So like if you're talking about like dropping off the child or you're having a conversation with the child with your partner, you can't use that conversation as an opportunity to try to re-explore the relationship. That is ultra omega toxic. That is super ultra. Do not ever do that. That's horrible. Previously, you would mention how much you enjoy the chaotic lifestyle with people trying to destroy your life. Do you feel like your Vyvanse arc has changed that any? I'm not sure. I don't know. I haven't encountered those people as much recently, so it's hard to say. Don't women generally want that from their partners? Security, protection. These security and protection are not, people don't pick partners for this unless you live like in a fucking war zone. No, this is stupid. To be desired sexually, yes, people want to be desired sexually, of course. And to be special to their partners above other women, yeah, being special to some extent, of course, is a huge thing. That's why most relationships are monogamous. Yeah, of course. Especially within their own sphere. Doesn't this mean open relationships are dangerous to be in regards to longevity? I mean, again, they have their own special risks. Sure, of course. Are you afraid somebody will retaliate in some way? In regards to any situation relating to this, I am unimpeachable and nobody can retaliate against me. It just cannot happen. I'm sorry. If you ever drank this juice out of Vienna sauna, no. Okay. All right. I think we mostly done this. Okay, listen. I said I'm banning all negative chats about Mel, about the other guy thing, or any of that. I don't want people shitting on her, not in my chat. Also, I see you doing it on Twitter. I'm probably blocking you there too. Don't be cringe. Yeah. One of the big challenges with ADHD is the absolute dog shit TikTok, social media, 30-second symptom videos where each of the symptoms listed are relatable to pretty much every single human. The symptoms are relatable, though it's often missed that they have to have a significant detrimental impact. Yeah, I agree. A lot of the romanticization of mental illness has been really detrimental to mental illness as a whole, I think. How do you deal with somebody like a Bob Seven or this other guy who weasels their way into your girlfriend's life? If somebody is able to get into your partner's life like that, it probably means that something is lacking in your relationship that they're really looking for. I think in general, I think that's the case. So like in my relationships, usually the thing that the other person lacks or wants more of is usually some type of like direct attention, which is really hard for me because I work so much and yeah. So in a healthy relationship, hopefully you're a little bit protected from stuff like that. But I mean, like, yeah, relationships are complicated. There's a lot of things that could happen. It just depends. Yeah, you should never fight with a partner using your kid. That is so fucking toxic. I sent you a dono, and I know they don't pop up, so I'm just bringing it up. Jack V, just say what you sent the dono, because I don't know how to see what you sent. I'm not against being poly, but what do you do if one partner is getting matches and all and the other doesn't? If you're going to do poly or open, you have to have somewhat equivalence on ability to get other partners. Otherwise, yeah, that one side, if it gets like too one-sided, that's going to foster a ton of resentment. That's never good. Are you guys going to be friends in the future? I don't know. I don't know anything about what the future looks like. Do you only work so much because you enjoy it? Yes, I super love everything I do for work. That's why I can work so much. And historically have been able to work so much because I super love it and enjoy it. Yeah. I'm going through, oh, please help. I'm going through a breakup as well, and we broke up on super good terms. She says she wants me to still be in her life, but we've just got to work out some things in our personal lives, but I don't know what that means. Does that mean maybe we could rekindle in the future, or is there another reason? Been really stressing out about this, not gonna lie. Okay, careful about generalizing what I say, but I would say that if you've broken up, you've broken up. If you want to work on a relationship, then you work on the relationship inside of the relationship. Anytime somebody, in my opinion, I'm making a huge generalization here, anytime somebody says they want to break to work on themselves, what that means is either one, they don't want to dump you immediately because they don't want to let you down, they don't know how to let you down because you're obviously going to be super devastated about it and they're conflict avoidant, or two, they're trying other things to see if those work better, and if they find something better, they're going to ditch you entirely. Or they're just kicking the can down the road because they're conflict avoidant, number one. So I would be really careful about that. There, in my opinion, and You can disagree, but in my opinion, there's no such thing as like, let's take a huge break in a relationship and see what happens. Like, why wouldn't you just stay in the relationship? You can create space. If you want to create space, that's fine. If you're like, listen, I think we need to separate. I'm going to move out for like 3 months so that we can like sort our shit out, and then like I'll move back in, or we'll like have it. That's fine. But anytime somebody's talking about like a total break, it feels like they're just exploring their options, and they're probably going to ditch you. Yeah, that would be my feeling on it. Yeah. Given you have more content online than almost anyone else, do you think you could train an AI to give you your next GF attention so you can stop the losers with infinite attention? I actually thought about that, having a bot that auto responds to people or automatically entertains conversations based on like training on my shit. But like, that's a bad idea, probably for a whole bunch of different reasons. Why don't you just get a divorce? I don't understand why you're iffy on this. Because I super love my wife. I've been with her for 5 years. I have really strong feelings for her. But it might just be the case that even though I have strong feelings for her, I think she still has strong feelings. There might be the case that there's like things in our life that make it so we just can't do a relationship, like deal breakers that make it so it can't work. So who knows? But I don't know. Like I said, we'll see what happens in the future. Do you think being broke is a good reason to avoid a relationship with a girl who's into you? Not necessarily. Just make sure that shit doesn't get weird around money, I guess. Do you think it's worth asking someone on a date, even if there's a potential of losing a friendship? That's a really, really, really hard one, and I don't have a good answer for you. Lex Friedman, $50. I'm here for the Jordan Peterson debate. Is this the right place? P.S. Hang in there, bud. Thanks, buddy. There have been people that I've explored sexual things with, and then afterwards things have kind of gotten messy or fallen apart, and I've wondered, like, fuck, this person probably would have been a really good friend. This probably... we shouldn't have done this. Fuck. So, yeah, that's a hard one. If it's a really good friend, and you explore something, man, I don't know. That's a hard one. I don't have a good answer for you. I'm sorry. Good luck. Figure that out. That's probably a case-by-case basis. Thanks for that STD advice. Okay. Do you think medicated ADHD is compatible with like streaming and chatting and multitasking? It feels like those are traps for 99% of ADHD people, but good for you because of your job. Okay, here's something that I feel very strongly about. Nothing about ADHD is good. There is no good thing about it. Nothing about it is good. There's no good thing about it. It's not a superpower. There aren't things that when you're off your medication, I can do this, but that's not true. All of that is cope. All of that is bullshit. The only people that say that don't have ADHD. They just have some attention problems sometimes. That's my feeling on it. That's a really extreme stance. Okay, maybe you disagree. That's fine. There might be smarter people than me that disagree with that, but that's my feeling on it. Destiny, do you know how they/you determine to go to 60 milligrams? I was recently diagnosed with ADHD. Not sure if I should request a different dose. Any idea how to tell if the dosage is right in your experience? Okay, this is medical advice, so you should talk to your physician and confirm what's appropriate. But generally the process for, I believe it's called titration. I don't know how it's pronounced. I've only read the word. But typically what will happen is if you get a dose of medication and you take it, as long as you have no side effects, but if you still have symptoms of the diagnosis, then slowly the doctor will up your dose. So let's say you try 5 milligrams of a particular medication, you try it, no side effects at all, your symptoms are actually pretty alleviated. They might just keep you there and you're fine. Let's say you try a medication, 5 milligrams, it doesn't help your symptoms, you're getting side effects, they'd probably put you on a totally different medication. Okay, this isn't working. Or let's say you try it, not helping there's no side effects, not helping things at all. They might say, okay, well, let's try 10 milligrams in a week. Or let's wait for this. Let's try, in 3 or 4 more days, let's try having it to 15 or 20. Basically, you're trying to edge it up until you're getting no more side effects, or you don't want to get side effects or serious side effects. You want to treat the underlying symptoms of whatever disease you're diagnosed with or whatever condition you're diagnosed with. That's how you do it. I think the process of this is called titration. I don't know how to pronounce that, but this is there's guidelines that doctors have when it comes to slowly upping your stuff. Would you be open to take a step back and try out everything you don't have strong beliefs in? You seem to be a bit set in your ways despite you saying otherwise, at least in the polyamory area. Maybe controlling your urges and not doing everything you want is a good thing. You say this, but all of my relationships prior to this were closed relationships. So have you ever considered trying a poly relationship? Like, that's so weird because you would only make this comment about my life and my lifestyle. But if somebody made it about your life, you'd be like, no, why the f did I do that? Like, have you ever tried sucking a d before? How do you know if you like it or not? If you haven't tried it, you'd immediately say no to that. So no, considering that the people that make these kinds of comments often come from the most closed-minded communities, why would I listen to you when you're encouraging me to be open-minded, right? You're not even encouraging me to be open-minded. You just want me to agree with you. My depression has recently stopped me from enjoying comp sci, but a failed situationship was found on the coffin. I'm failing 3 classes and I've always been an AB student. Should I take time off college? Also, do you believe in attachment styles? Because I feel close to anxious attachment. I don't know. Ask your therapist, bro. Damn. I will say, You have to sort your baggage out. Like, people are capable of moving through life with a surprising amount of baggage. This is part of the reason why, like, I take days off streaming. Rarely, but it happens. Like, it's really important if you've gone through bad events to, like, take some time to sit down and, like, how do I feel about this? Do I need to change something going forward? What are the mistakes that I made? How can I rectify them? Blah, blah, blah. You have to figure that out. Don't just roll through life with a fuck ton of baggage, because it will, it's not even that it will catch up with you. It's always with you, and it's constantly fucking your life up. That's really, really bad. There is, like, a psychological debt. Okay, there's a psychological toll that this will take, and it will come out in every single interaction you have, and you need to deal with that. Yeah. How long does it take for vines to kick in for you? About an hour, I think. 30 minutes to an hour. How do you research the right medication for your mental stuff? My doctor basically told what medication you need in all particular. I don't know, just read, Google and read patient reviews, Google and read studies, Google and read recommendations on doctor websites, Google and read Reddit things where people talk about, like, this worked for me, this blah, blah, blah. Like, talk to your doctor. Yeah. Did you see Tate talk to Elon? Nope. Can you ever be friends with an ex? It's possible, but only once you've created a lot of healthy space and the romantic feelings are completely gone from both sides. I've made huge strands in my life and taking ADHD seriously, and it feels like there's simply no way for me to communicate my experience because the public perception is so fucked up. I have family with fucked lives, and I highly suspect ADHD is a strong factor now that I've heard a lot about it, but there is no path to getting them to take it seriously. Yeah, true. Yeah, that's why you just don't talk to anybody about it. So you aren't getting divorced. Mel said she was on stream. I have a time stamp. Well, because I told her we were going to. Like I said, I don't know what will happen. Maybe we will. Who knows? Do you ever feel like you are too acoustic when it comes to personal relationships? Yes. I think that I resonate too much sometimes, and I need to tone down on on my acousticness. Read the Lex Dono. I did, didn't I? Wait, did I not read it? Am I having an hallucination? I'm here for the Jordan Peterson debate. Is this the right place? P.S. Hang in there, bud. That was a Lex donation. I read this. Respectfully, if you consider your willingness to patch things up is based on an unhealthy cope, I had a relationship go on for months, if not years, longer than it should have because I didn't want to accept the inevitability that we weren't compatible. Yeah, I spent a lot of time thinking about this. Here's what I would say. If you're worried that your willingness to continue something is like a cope or it's bad, here's what I would say. If you think you want something to continue that's been unhealthy and you want it to continue to get better, the question you need to be able to answer is, are there very clear differences you want to make going forward, or are you just hoping for things to magically fix themselves? For me, there's like, I made a list of things. There's like 5 things that I said, like, if I continue a relationship with somebody like this, these 5 things have to be met. And if they're not, then I walk. Cause these are obvious, like, non-starters. Like, this has to be like bare minimum. Those are things that I haven't like pushed for before. And I think now being able to do that, like, lets me operate in a relationship a little bit more concretely. So that would be my big change going forward. But again, who knows? Aren't you self-diagnosed with a shady doctor on standby for drugs? I'm not self-diagnosed. That's why you talk to a doctor. That's the opposite of self-diagnosed. And on standby for drugs, yes, that's called prescription medication. How do you pronounce the word tensile? Or do you say tensile? It's tensile, right? Have you ever analyzed a situation by asking if worst outcome is your goal, what would you be doing differently than you are now? Not necessarily like that, but I do think of like what outcomes have happened and how would I want to change that. Lex Friedman, $50. Why didn't you read my dono? Are you now too big to listen to us, the people? Yeah, true. Destiny, do you agree that your relationship ended on the same basis a mono relationship would? Sorry for the I'm just curious if it has wider implications on the overlap between poly and mono. Yeah, I think so, actually. I think it's pretty similar. Again, I've said this has been true historically, even in closed relationships for me. The biggest people that are difficult for me to contend with are usually people that are willing to give a lot more time to my partner than I am. And in mono relationships, this can take the form of like a work wife or a work husband or like really close friends that they confide in and blah, 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 blah. Wait, hold on.
A lot of getting pussy, from my perspective, honestly, is just having the temperament to be able to hang out long enough. Forever, you will see a hot ass chick with a loser ass boyfriend, but that's a guy who just has the patience and the fucking lack of ambition that he just is down to just, like, his ambition is wanting to date a girl who's too good for him.
Oh, dude. Wait, when you have to, no, I'm sorry. You bring this up. One of the worst things when you are in your chasing years, you're trying to chase, so I would give up on these immediately.
Right.
When you see a girl and there's another guy chasing that girl and he's a fucking loser, and I'm like, this motherfucker gonna spend all day texting her. He's gonna want to go and hang out for 6 hours. I'm on my career grind. I don't have fucking time for that. You're just like, you win, you have it. I hated competing with those, and you're talking to the girl like, well, come on, what the f***? See this guy? He's like,
yeah. Okay, I don't want to like dump on that too much. Sorry, I shouldn't fix it on that. Would it have played out the exact same way? I mean, Probably not. Actually, I would say probably being in an open or poly relationship probably elevates the risk somewhat, because there's going to be some people that are interested because they feel like they have a higher chance of pulling your partner away from you because it's an open or poly relationship. That might be the case. So if I had to guess, like the open poly thing probably elevates the risk a bit, but like this is a problem that everybody has to be aware of, that your significant other, this is one of the reasons why people typically don't like their significant others having close friendships with people of the opposite sex, especially if they spend a lot of time together, especially if they got a history together, because you're always worried that that person could pull you off of your partner eventually. That's always a worry that people have for good reason too. Are you and YRG gonna finally stop floating and talk on Scuffed? If he's on, yeah, hopefully. At one point you said if you're single after the age of 25, you're fucked, and there's probably a reason for it. You told us about, yeah, that's still generally true of almost everything. I don't think I said 25 though. I think I said 30. It's either like people that are just out of relationships, you can grab them, but like otherwise, if people are like 30 plus and they've been single for years and years, usually there's some wild shit going on there. I actually had a girl challenge me on this recently, and she said she wanted to try sample dating to see if I could find why she's crazy, because we got into a big argument. She's like, well, I've been single, and I'm like, oh, there's probably something fucking crazy with you. Oh shit. I think she actually texted me a few days ago. The trial begins. Oh, I don't even know. That would be a funny experiment. I don't even know if I can engage with that. We'll see. We'll figure that out. But yeah, I still feel that way. But hey, I could be wrong. I thought you were cool until I found out you went to Creighton Prep, LOL. Ooh, somebody goes to West Side and they're mad because their school is inferior to mine in every single fucking way. My body dysmorphia holds me back from being myself and asking people out. I don't even look ugly. I just feel like I look way better. I don't know, man. Just don't think about it. Try it. Like, you have to like experiment. Like, just start talking to people and then hopefully, yeah. Like, if you don't gain experience, there's no substitute for that. But yeah. I want to be a high school teacher, but I think the school environment in the US is terrible. So I'm looking to get a job in Asia, specifically Taiwan. Am I being a coward? I feel guilty, like I'm taking the easy way out. Why would you want to be a high school teacher in another country if you want to be a teacher? It feels like you're just gonna be stuck teaching English classes, unless that's what you want to do. Fuck, okay. Do you know if ADHD medication dosage has a relation to body weight? My understanding in general is things related to serotonin and dopamine and norepinephrine, I don't think those usually matter when it comes to body weight. I don't think they do. Like, I've never heard of somebody saying like, oh, if you're 400 pounds, you need to eat 5 grams of mushrooms. Or like, oh, if you only weigh 100 pounds, like, oh, like, 1 gram of mushrooms will get you super high. Or I haven't heard of people adjusting like SSRI, or I know for amphetamines, none of the indications include weight. I haven't heard of that for SSRIs. I've never heard the indications include weight. So I don't believe that weight is a factor there. For things that are processed and affect your like entire CNS, like alcohol and stuff, I think that's pretty weight dependent. But yeah, but don't quote me on that. Please help Guy again. I don't know if I'm coping super hard because I love her so much, but we had a super healthy relationship. We always talked through and worked out our problems, but I feel like the reason she even decided to break up with me was because of her dad, who she's terrified of, and he didn't like me. That's why I'm so confused, hanging on to hope. I love you, my dude, and you're in a place where you're not gonna listen to anything I say, but like, just from reading your messages, she might have just used that as an excuse to break up. And even though you felt like everything was great, maybe you're a little bit too clingy and that made her uncomfortable. And that's just my guess from reading your messages. But I mean, I don't know. Yeah. If somebody really, I mean, also, how old are you guys? How old is this girl that she's letting her dad dictate her dating partners? That's either a shitty partner who's listening too much to their family for their romantic decisions, or you guys are like 17, in which case, I don't know, that's more complicated, or like it wasn't going to work anyway if they're not willing to push through that. Yeah. What do you think about SSRIs? That's a rough merry-go-round. Do you think there's a link between ADHD and your relationship style? No, I don't think so. There is between like some problems I have in relationships, but like relationship style? No, I don't think so. What would you recommend for someone in an open relationship who has a super strong sexual connection with someone who's not their primary partner, is worried about it affecting the stability of their primary relationship? I don't know. Make sure everything your primary partner is getting is good. You're them enough and everything, so. Any advice for guys with male pattern baldness? My hair is thinning and I feel like at some point I'll have to shave it off, but I don't look good with a shaved head. Here's what I would say. There are some patterns of male pattern baldness that actually look okay, especially with certain like facial hair. I don't know how to explain it, but there's one about like the head. I think it actually looks fine. I think a lot of girls probably get like, oh yeah, that's sexy, it's cute, it's whatever. There's some male pattern baldness that works, and there's some that super doesn't work. Long hair with significant baldness, I think always looks bad. Yeah, I don't know. Have close friends. At some point, identify when you need to buzz it, and then at some point, identify when you need to shave it. Is it widow's peak? Is this what always looks bad? Yeah, I don't know. This one is always kind of... What's the one where you're just like bald in the middle? Middle baldness male pattern. I feel like this one can look good sometimes. This one. I don't know why. I don't know where I get that from, but I feel like it can look okay sometimes. Not the one in the back. The one in this thing. What were they called in Seinfeld? What was the fat guy's name? Jerry and... fuck, what's his name? The Louis C.K. look? Does Louis C.K. have that kind of pattern? Yeah, I don't know why. I feel like this works. I feel like it can be fine. Maybe they just have like perfectly shaped heads. Oh, George, that one. Maybe they just have good heads for it or something, but like, I feel like this is fine. I don't know why. I think it works. I think this actually works. Jason Statham, does he have that pattern of male baldness? Oh yeah, he does too, yeah. I don't know why. It works. Wait, let me get a reality check. Let me check on this. Check out Jude Law too. I don't like this one as much. Even though Jude is very attractive, he clearly is. I don't like this metal thing. I don't like this metal thing. But maybe that's just me, I'm not sure. Look at Tony Soprano. Yeah, he has the same thing. Do you think if you had gotten your ADHD meds in your teen years, you'd be as successful as you are today? I think I'd be, well, I mean, I got lucky that I stumbled into streaming, but I would definitely be, I would have done like way better in terms of education. Way better. Okay. Okay, I'm doing 3 more questions from KickChat, and then I need to get through links before I kick or keep. How's your hairline doing? I'm blessed. I'm lucky with mine. I don't know why. I think I'm pretty lucky, which sucks because I don't even care about hair that much, but for whatever reason, I've lucked out a bit. But also, if you haven't lucked out for hairlines, you can get like the finasteride bullshit and other things, like apparently are really good for hair regrowth now. Apparently those are really effective. So there's like a lot of options today, I think, if you're willing to pay a little bit of money for it. So, yeah. Finasteride? I don't know what the fuck. Or Finsta? Is that like, I don't even know. Whatever the kids are using for the bald shit today. Apparently there's, yeah. Was that one question? Did I ask? That was one. Second question. Let's say I wanted to try some ADHD meds before seeing a doctor. How long should I try the meds? Keep in mind that self-medication can be scary for a variety of reasons. If there's a contraindication to you taking any of that medication and you don't get it cleared with the doctor first, you could run the risk of serious medical complications, up to and including dying. That being said, I mean, I would always say start at really low doses and then monitor side effects and monitor main effects. If you're starting a stimulant medication, be aware that the first few days you're just going to be high, and don't confuse the highness with the feeling that you need to be getting, and don't think that the highness is going to last forever, because the only way to keep the stimulant euphoria, if you're looking for a euphoric feeling from stimulants, the only way to maintain that feeling is to continually up the dose or chase the dragon or drug holiday yourself and then come back in a few weeks and then do that over and over again. If you feel like you're chasing euphoria, that is a really bad thing, because now you're just like using now you're just like chasing, yeah, that's not like the, do you have any euphoria right now? No, I haven't had euphoria on my medication for like a month and a half. It was just for the first few days I tried Adderall. 1, 2, okay, 3 more, let's see, or 1 more. What do we have? Somebody asked about like advice for widowing or grief or for a dead partner. I don't know about that. That would legitimately, I feel like that would fuck me up really hard. I think I could deal with the worst breakup in the world, like walking in and finding my wife fucking every single political streamer in the world, I would rather that than like a partner dying. I think the reason why is because like if a partner cheats on you, or if something fails, or even if you make a mistake or fuck up, then it's always like, well, listen, I was in the right place in life, I made mistakes, or you know what, my partner was a piece of shit, fuck up, blah blah blah. Like any of that like can be livable, but the idea of like something really beautiful or magical could have existed and now that's like gone because of some total like bullshit thing in life, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said this. Now I'm just like making you feel shittier. I'm so sorry. This is like it would be really difficult for me to deal with. I don't know if I could deal with that. Or, I mean, obviously I would have to, or you kill yourself. Don't do that. But yeah. Ugh. Okay. One more bonus question. How do you deal with the idea that your life could be better or easier if you were diagnosed early? Like you have a pretty good life, so how much better could it be? What about someone who's ADHD to live a shitty life? The only thing you can do, here's like two things you need to keep in mind. One, life only moves in one direction. Like life only moves forward. That's it. You can never go back in time. And then two, the only person you should compare yourself with is yourself, right? Your number one competition is who you were in the past. And your number two competition are like alternative future versions of you, okay? Those are the only two people that you should be concerned about, generally speaking. If you, like try to improve over where you were at, and if you have, then good job, you're winning. And then two, do better than like a shittier version of you would have been doing in the future. Yeah, like that's all you should be concerned about. Yeah.